Thank you, Ms. Leisure-Fernandez. Mr. Jack, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you to Leader Jeffries and Whip Clark for testifying before us today. I'm just curious, rewinding back to March of 2021, when these enhanced premium tax credits were created, could you walk us through, in this committee, through the thought process as to why they were set to expire at the end of this year?
Well, actually, we'll correct the gentleman's time frame because, as you probably recall, the original Affordable Care Act tax credits were part of the American Rescue Plan. That lapsed at the end of December in 2022. As part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which was enacted in 2022, that extended the Affordable Care Act tax credits for an additional 3 years, which is why the amendment that we're offering today would extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for 3 years under current policy baseline. That's been the Republican policy. In fact, you all just use current policy baseline to jam the one big ugly bill down the throats of the American people. Current policy baseline where you ripped Medicaid away from 14 million Americans. Current policy baseline where you enacted the largest cut to SNAP in American history. And most egregiously, current policy baseline as part of your one big ugly bill to provide massive tax breaks for your billionaire donors. And you made it permanent. And now, what we've seen over the last several weeks is the Republican refusal to even extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for working class Americans for a year. So that's why we're in the situation that we're in. And Republicans continue to refuse to take yes for an answer. We're trying to help you help your own folks, because the states that will be most impacted if the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire: West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Mississippi, Tennessee, Texas, Alabama, South Carolina, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Those are the top 10 states impacted if the Affordable Care Act tax credits expire. So this is not a partisan issue for us as House Democrats. It's a patriotic issue because we're fighting to protect the health care of everyday Americans, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. You're a hardworking American taxpayer, and you can't afford to have your health insurance premiums skyrocket by thousands of dollars a year.
Thank you for that. And a question I have, you mentioned things should be bipartisan issues. I'm curious, this bill before us is a bipartisan bill. 8 Democrat senators crossed the aisle to send it over to the House. I'm curious, what's your message to those 8 Democrat senators who bravely crossed the aisle to send this bill to us?
Our message, our fight right now is that there are at least 25 different House Republicans, because we're in the House of Representatives right now, 25 House Republicans who in different ways have said, yeah, we need to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And now is the opportunity for members of the House Republican Conference to actually mean what they say. And we're giving them this opportunity. If you make this amendment in order, let's debate it on the House floor. My friends on the other side of the aisle have been literally gone for 7+ weeks. We should have ample opportunity, and I appreciate, Madam Chair, you giving us the opportunity to testify here today. The distinguished gentle lady from the great state of North Carolina by way of Brooklyn, the Bronx.
Manhattan. Get them all in there.
We get them all in. But let's debate these issues. We've been saying it week after week after week. We'll find a bipartisan path forward. Let's reopen the government, but let's do it in a way that addresses decisively the Republican health care crisis.
Thank you. I'll yield to my colleague and friend, Mr. Roy, before I yield back to the chair.
I'll take my friend from Georgia. I know I had to step out and call my children a little bit ago, so I stepped out. I think my name was invoked a couple times. That's fine. We do that around here in response, and I made some statements. I just wanted to stipulate the record a couple things. One, I wanted to ask enter the record the editorial board of the Washington Post for November 1st, 2025, titled "The Unaffordability of Obamacare Comes Home to Roost," subtitled "ACA Subsidies Are a Band-Aid for a Fundamentally Broken Healthcare System," in which they go through an outline. This is an editorial board that
Without objection.
Thank you. Madam Chairman, that had commented that the, Affordable Care Act has been anything but affordable. And in going through the analysis in this editorial, I won't go through the whole thing here for the sake of time, but it's making the case for how we got here and walking through the whole process in terms of the mandate and then in terms of sort of a backdoor into it through the subsidies with the 400% POP, which we've already talked about earlier. We then went from the 15% rate, which is historic for private plans and was true for Obamacare, and now we're at a 35 to 40% rate in terms of these plans that were not being used, yet massively subsidized. So as the editorial points out, the late economist Milton Friedman has said nothing is as permanent as a temporary government program. And that's what I think needs to be stipulated here, is that this was put forward as a temporary program during COVID and is being asked to be extended to do the work of trying to basically put a Band-Aid on it, to use the Washington Post terms. As they say, quote, "The solution offered by Democratic leaders is to keep shoveling more taxpayer money into a pit of ever larger subsidies, even though the national debt is $38 trillion and growing." That is the Washington Post editorial board. And I would just close by saying we have significant solutions to health care that we have been putting forward and proposing, from any number of possibilities involving expansion of health savings accounts, direct primary care. We had provisions of direct primary care that we put in the big, beautiful bill, which I believe will have serious benefits, being able to use insurance for direct primary care. I've got direct primary care doctors throughout my district, which are helping people, helping musicians, helping people that can't get access to doctors through their insurance companies, the ability to be able to have greater transparency and be able to go to places like the Surgery Center of Oklahoma, where you can get a $14,000 knee replacement instead of $65,000 through the insurance plans, being able to have expansive use of things like MediShare and health sharing ministries that allow people to defray costs. We've got lots of people coming up with creative solutions to be able to afford health care, because right now they're denied the ability to afford health care because we broke the system after World War II with wage controls, and then we had this employer-foisted product that is now making it impossible for people to afford care. And what we ought to do is eliminate that tax disparity. We ought to make it to where you have same tax treatment, whether you're getting it from your employer or whether you have it yourself. If your employer wants to give it to you, you should go to a health savings account. You should be able to go to the market and shop, and you ought to have varied solutions, including short-term limited duration plans, which we should bring back, and other ways in order to get costs down so you have more competition. There are lots of ways we can address this if we'll sit and debate it. But what we shouldn't be doing is demanding that in order to proceed, as we've gone forward with short-term CRs and now 3 appropriations bills to keep government going and moving forward, we should debate those in a full open debate on health care. Happy to do that anytime. But I don't think it needs to be done in the context of offering an amendment here to do, as I said, the Washington Post said, the solution is to keep shoveling more taxpayer money into a pit of ever larger subsidies, even though the national debt is $38 trillion, and which, by the way, will continue to drive the cost of health care up. I yield back to the gentleman from Georgia.
And I yield back to the chairwoman.
Thank you very much. I'm going to follow on with that, but I do want to set the record straight just a bit. Wikipedia is wrong. I was born in Manhattan.
All right.
I was baptized at Mount Carmel Church. My grandparents moved to the Bronx, and I spent some time with them. So my mother, though, was living in Brooklyn when she met my father there. So I do have most of the boroughs covered.
That's a beautiful thing. But you strike me as someone from the boogie down Bronx.
I took the train at Pelham Bay, walked through the park in the days when you could walk through the Pelham Bay Park and get on the subway. Anyway, I want to follow on with what my colleague from Texas was talking about from the Washington Post. The Affordable Care Act is really a misnomer. It's never been affordable, as the Washington Post said. It's just never. And let's be clear, the ACA subsidies will still be present in the individual market next year, despite all the things you all have been saying. The enhanced premium subsidies, which go directly to insurance companies and were justified as COVID relief when they were authorized, are expiring because Democrats insisted on a take it or leave it, no reforms approach. COVID is over. Democrats themselves were responsible for sunsetting these provisions, are responsible for setting up the sunsetting of these provisions at the end of December 2025. Republicans had nothing to do. We never voted for the Affordable Care Act. Yes, we voted to repeal it 70 times. We always had an alternative to it. We've heard over and over tonight that there were no alternatives. That is not true. Much of what has been said tonight is not true. We'll deal some more with that tomorrow. But we should not be rewarding our colleagues for taking the entire government hostage by rubber stamping a COVID-related program. COVID is over. Our Democrat colleagues would have the public believe that the only way to stabilize the individual insurance market is to flood it with subsidies. But again, we have a long history of offering market reforms like associated health plans, which have been you've fought against tooth and nail. We've supported HSAs, which you've fought against tooth and nail. You never seem to want the American people to have any control over their health care. It's always forcing people into government-controlled health care.
Would the gentlelady mind yielding just for a moment?
But
Not for an entire back and forth. I just wanted to ask a question. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and Donald Trump has taken a my way or the highway approach from the very beginning of his time in office. And so I'm just wondering why Republicans haven't seen fit. We can agree we have a broken healthcare system. We as Democrats want to fix it. But throughout the entirety of this year, unless I'm missing something, where's the Republican action on addressing the health care of the American people other than ripping Medicaid away from 14 million folks?
Well, I wasn't going to address every point you made. I said that earlier. But we did not rip away Medicaid from a single soul. That's another lie that you all have been putting out. We did not take Medicaid away from a single soul. We said that 1,000,000 times when we passed the Working Families Tax Cuts Act. We never took one person off of Medicaid. What we've done over and over and over again is to attempt to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. I hope when you say we have a broken healthcare system, you're including in that, Mr. Jeffries, that we have waste, fraud, and abuse.
Am I to believe that the one big ugly bill loved and cherished Medicaid?
We have waste, fraud, and abuse. Now, we look forward to continuing that support when the shutdown's over and the American people aren't being held hostage. We've said that 1,000,000 times since you all shut down the government. We've said that. Let us get through the appropriations process. We had November and December to work on this after we got through the appropriations process. But no, that wasn't good enough for you all. And I wish we were in control. I truly wish we were in control.
Who's in
I
control?
will tell you, we have a majority of one in the House, and you know, and I know, that it takes 60 votes in the Senate. We have 53 Republicans.
Is that
in the
majority of
Senate.
one Donald Trump?
Democrats refuse to infuse a lick of accountability into the subsidies that they legislated. And again, you decided to sunset that. Per the CBO, in 2025, when we talked about Kaiser family, now we're talking about CBO. In 2025 alone, 2.3 million ineligible individuals received these temporary credits, a broken healthcare system. The Biden administration took a hatchet to eligibility safeguards, weakened eligibility verification, reduced tax reporting, and allowed insurance brokers to game the system by switching enrollees' plans monthly. This led to phantom enrollees, millions of people who never actually received health care. For context, $35 billion was spent on approximately 4.6 million phantom enrollees in 2024 who never received health care. That's been alluded to here earlier. I think that the last thing we should be doing is rubber stamping this giveaway to insurance companies. The biggest subsidies in this country right now are given to insurance companies for people who aren't getting health care. We do want to fix the health care system in this country. We need to fix the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid, waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, waste, fraud, and abuse in the Unaffordable Care Act. We want to work on it. Let's get the government back. Let's work on appropriations, and let's let the appropriate committees be working on health care. Let's not muddy the water. This has been an obfuscation exercise tonight by saying over and over, we got to do health care. Mr. Cole said over and over, it's not an appropriations process. It's other committees. So you all are trying to take away the American people's attention from what we're here to do tonight. And we've spent a lot of time on it.
Madam Chair.
With that, I yield myself back. And
I mean, have you heard from anybody in your district who has seen their health premiums double or triple? I mean, and what do you tell these people?
I heard
You're
that.
on your own, tough luck, and, you know?
Mr. McGovern, I'll answer.
Okay.
No, I have not. But I heard when Obamacare was put in effect how horrible Obamacare was. Mr. McGovern, I'm answering your question. I heard how awful Obamacare was when it went into effect. I hear from people all the time, not just now, but for the last several years, how their insurance premiums have gone up over and over again. So,
Do you know the approval rating of the Affordable Care Act is like 65%, and Donald Trump's approval rating is at 37%? I'm happy to go down to your district. We can do a joint town hall together and listen to people tell us their health care stories. But I can't go back to my
thank you,
constituents and
Mr.
just tell them,
McGovern.
screw you, you're on your own. We're not going to help you out.
Mr. McGovern, it's my
yield back.
time. And I yield back. And I thank our witnesses for being here. You're excused.
Thank you.